Today we have another adventure in Sweet Baby Ink Land. Now today's tale is about developers who are about as trustworthy as Gollum from Lord of the Rings. They are sneaky, they are liars, they cannot be trusted, and you would think that they'd be proud to be working with Sweet Baby Ink. But no, they're frightened. They are cowards. And they've taken a bit of a different approach to some of the other developers we've seen who've worked with Sweet Baby Ink. So, if we have a look here, we've got Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. Now, this is an open-world action RPG that you've probably never heard of because it looks like slop. It looks rubbish, it looks generic. It does have, of course, a female person of colour with a half-shaved head in the main protagonist role, as we've come to expect for all these sorts of games in 2024, but nothing about it looks good, and there'd be nothing worth mentioning if it wasn't on the Sweet Baby Ink detected Steam Curator. So this fantastic group that is now at nearly 310,000 followers, the people against this curator, the crazies who are trying to get it banned, get the creator of this group banned from Steam entirely. They were saying, oh, it's just a quiet minority who are angry about Sweet Baby Ink. No one really cares. I beg to differ. When I first saw it, I assumed it would be quite niche. It had a few thousand followers. I thought this was cool, but it's taken off massively. It's showing no signs of slowing down. And the latest game added to the list is Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. And the evidence proving that Sweet Baby was involved in the game is during an interview with The Edge magazine, the devs all but confirmed that they'd procured the services of Sweet Baby. It's quite interesting because a lot of these games, they got added to this list, added to the group, and people discussed them, and they continued on. Yep, these games, we're not going to buy them, we're not going to support them. But as new games have been added, there seems to have been a drama each time. So Unknown 9 Awakening was added a couple of days ago, and the devs, they tried to hide the reality of the situation. They nuked their own Steam forums to erase anyone mentioning that Sweet Baby were working on the game. So anyone who thinks that this curator isn't doing damage to these devs, to these companies, they are wrong. These developers are genuinely panicking, and this Flintlock game, the latest one, it is more evidence of that, because there is a very different drama. They're not nuking forums. They're trying to be more sneaky about it. They've taken a very different approach, which is quite interesting. And we see that here. So, Cabrutus, I'm not sure if it's Cabrutus or if it's Cabrutus, but Cabrutus sounds cool. This guy is a legend. He is the creator of the Sweet Baby Ink Curator. And what he says here on Twitter is, hey guys, I added another game to my curator list. The game is called Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. And as shown in this physical copy of The Edge magazine, it involves Kim Belair, Sweet Baby Ink CEO. She is that insane individual who went on a stage, gave a talk, where she basically said that they want to take over the industry, that they won't rest until gamers as we know it, they're gone, and they're replaced with a brand new audience who succumb to everything that Sweet Baby believes in. She's kind of like the Klaus Schwab of gaming, where she's got zero credibility, but for some reason people seem to listen to her, again, procure these idiots' services. And it goes on to say, I have waited a bit before deciding to add this one, because a dev from the Flintlock team reached to me through my mail, stating that they eradicated the Sweet Baby Ink part, and basically remade it completely. So a couple of things here. Firstly, I really like that the creator of this curator, he's very careful with adding games to this list. It would be very easy to basically look at any game that looks overly diverse, it looks suspicious in terms of priorities. You get a game, it's obvious that they're just sort of ham-fisting a certain brand of politics onto us, they're lecturing us. Maybe just add it to the list. It would be easy to do that. And I will say that I like the fact that more curators are popping up that are doing exactly that. They're looking at games that you would deem as woke or whatever you want to call it, and they're adding it to a list so you can be aware of it. I am fine with that, but I also like that the Sweet Baby Ink group has a lot of credibility. These are games where there is direct evidence that Sweet Baby Ink themselves have involvement, because the crazies who are against this, these are the sorts of people who are trying to get this guy banned and all of that. They will try and find cracks in the credibility of this group in any way possible. So only adding games that definitely have Sweet Baby involvement, I think it's a good thing. It ensures that you know what you're looking at is based on fact. And a lot of work seems to have gone into this. Every single one of these games, there is actual evidence saying, here's how we know that Sweet Baby are involved. But the second thing here, so the team behind Flintlock, they reached out, meaning they essentially panicked. You get all these people who try and say, no one cares about this curator. It's a loud minority online of just crazies who can't understand that the world is moving forward and we need to embrace all this change. Oh, no. People in everyday life, they love forced diversity and games essentially being ruined, turned into vehicles for propaganda. The everyday person loves it. Apparently not, because these devs, in panic mode, reached out to this individual and basically said, hey, can you please remove us from this curator? We're worried about our sales. At this point, together with my staff, I've decided to give them the chance to prove this. So to prove that Sweet Baby Inc. are no longer involved with this product. Anything that they worked on has been eradicated. They've parted ways. So the developers say that this is the case, that Sweet Baby's influence is no longer there. Now, this is nice and all for the devs to say, but I'd certainly want to be seeing evidence. And that's what this guy has done as well. He said, we'll give you a chance to prove that Sweet Baby are not involved. And you can prove it by giving us access to the game pre-release and also asking the manager of the developer to have a conversation with them. So set up a chat so they can talk it through. And I mean, this should be pretty easy. If they'd actually made a genuine effort to go, you know what, these Sweet Baby people, they're idiots. What were we thinking? Why did we hire them? Surely there are communications within your business proving that you went into the game and removed anything that they touched. I mean, anything they touch turns rotten. So just find all the rotten parts, remove them from the game, maybe start from scratch, because I don't know, man, you look at this game and, I mean, come on, this doesn't look good. Surely you scrap this, you start again fresh, you start with the right intentions. It shouldn't be too hard to prove that the Sweet Baby influence is no longer there. However, sadly, when proof was asked for, the devs openly refused on both points. So they refused to have a proper conversation, and they refused to provide access to the game so we could go through it and actually see, is this a game that's built on a foundation of fun, or is it designed to lecture, to be a vehicle for political propaganda? Well, because they refused, that left the Sweet Baby Inc. curator no choice but to put the game on the list. As he says here, they were left with no way to know if the devs were lying or not. Did you actually remove the Sweet Baby influence, or are you just saying that because you're worried about sales? This is a big topic right now. People are avoiding anything to do with Sweet Baby like the plague, and again, they were in panic mode. And as the guy says, this doesn't speak very well about them, about the devs. And this is the evidence, the Edge article, where the developers of Flintlock admit to hiring Sweet Baby. And again, they're bragging about it here, but now they're sort of working in the shadows. They're trying to remove all the evidence. They're lying to people, it sounds like. All very strange. So we can see in the article for Flintlock, it was Tops Harjo who brought on Kim Belair, again the CEO of Sweet Baby, the Montreal-based narrative director, who has advocated for better representation in stories as a means of bringing new and exciting ideas to games. Well, we know what that means, taking out anything interesting, immersive, and replacing it with 2024 modern-day political messaging. She won't, the Sweet Baby Inc. organization, will not rest until that is the case for every single video game. That is their mission. That is their purpose. She took the wonderful base layer Derek had, the world, and just elevated it. And you know, it's funny because you've got an article here that's meant to be about propping up the game, and what are they actually talking about in here? Obviously, there's the mention of Sweet Baby, but you look through it and, oh, I feel connected to the protagonist because I'm a black woman. Things never really came easy for me. I remember when I was little, I was watching Star Trek, like, oh my gosh, there's a black lady in space. Why don't you talk about the game? Why aren't you selling us on the gameplay? What systems are in there? What's the world like? Oh, you mentioned that it's like Far Cry somewhere? Okay, I've lost all interest now. Although we do learn a couple of things here. First of all, these devs previously worked on Ashen, it looks like. Now, if you haven't heard of that game, it is a Souls-like. It's a really weak Souls-like. It was kind of like Game Pass fodder. I think it was a Microsoft published title, or they did something with it. It was on Game Pass. No one buys these sorts of games. They're just middling titles that Microsoft throws money at. But this interview also mentions that with Kepler's backing, they're the publisher, a dramatically increased budget has allowed the developer to go open world, expand the game. So a dramatically increased budget. Could it be that because you're hiring Sweet Baby, it seems like the whole priority of this title is, oh, it's all going to be diverse. We've got to have the person of color, female shaved head protagonist. Could it be that you got that increased budget because of ESG, DEI? Who invested this extra money? I'm very curious. And backing all of this up, we've got Mark Kern here, former Blizzard developer, who says, so A44 Games, they are the developer behind this awful title, told Kabrutus that they had removed all Sweet Baby content and asked to not be out on his curator list. So again, panicking, looking for somewhere to hide. When Kabrutus asked them to prove it, they actively refused to talk to him. I think I know why. I found the COO of A44 that hired Sweet Baby. And they also did talks on DEI. No wonder. And we have here the culture panel, tackling inclusion and diversity in the games industry. And right here in the top left, we have Audria Tops Harjo, COO of the dev behind Flintlock. And she's got a side endeavor, it looks like. She's also the founder of Inclusion FX, another quality organization like that. I looked them up, and basically she just helps people that she likes get voice actor roles. If you're of the wrong skin color, she's not going to help you. You've got to be like her. You've got to look just like her to be able to procure her assistance. But we certainly have the circus here on this culture panel. We've got Audria herself, who reminds me of the sidekick character in Jedi Fallen Order. You know, that woman of color with the short hair seems to pop up in like every second game now because they tick the right box. I could do without that person in every single game. It sort of breaks immersion when it's the same actress. Every title looks the same. You don't even give them a different look. They're voice actors. You could make them look different, but you don't want to because the whole reason is to push this message. You've got Nate over here on the right who looks like a woman with a mustache. Everyone looks like the modern 2024 video game protagonist that you have to have now. They can't just look like regular, everyday people. It seems like they can't just talk about creepy stuff. They've got to have the look for it as well. It all seems to come full circle. But what does this all really mean? Because what is very interesting again is that the devs behind Flintlock, behind this game, they hired Sweet Baby, they were proud of it, now they're in panic mode, now they want to remove them. And they seem to have thought, just by claiming that Sweet Baby didn't work on the game, it would rub their hands of all the controversy. Suddenly we want to buy it again. Do you not understand what the fundamental problem is? It isn't because you hired some organization with a weird green baby logo icon and you got them working on the game. That isn't what the problem is. It is this. It is everything. It's the fact that you as developers, you do not care about fun, you do not care about entertainment. Your top priority is to interrogate your player base, call them evil if they're cis white men or whatever you want to do. And you've got the exact same mindset as anyone who has ever worked at Sweet Baby. The whole problem is not necessarily that Sweet Baby did work on the game, it's the fact that you hired them in the first place. I don't just want to know about game devs who hired Sweet Baby and the specific work that they actually did on these games. If Sweet Baby even got a phone call from you, if they entered the building, even if you walked them straight out, the fact that you wanted to bring them in and you were considering having them to be involved on your game tells me that your priorities are totally wrong. You shouldn't be making video games. Do something else. Stay out of the medium. Go and make some propaganda Netflix show, an Amazon show or something. These are services I do not care about because they've been corrupted a long time ago, and video games might be the same, but I hope they can get better because this is the medium I care most about, and I hate to see it brought down by this garbage, by this crap. And if it doesn't sell well, people like yourself, you'll try and blame the players. You'll do anything to suggest that the game didn't fail because, look at this, how generic it is. You can tell where all of the priorities have gone. It's to make sure you're hitting the right buttons, you're spreading the right message. You couldn't give a toss about the actual game design and the sort of fun that we're meant to be having in here. That comes at a very distant second to what you were doing here, and I don't know the story. I don't know if you got funding, again, DEI funding, whatever it might be, from the BlackRocks of the world, and your publisher may have, and that's what resulted in all this. But I don't really care, because this is ruining games. I don't care if Sweet Baby's work is in there or not, because there is weird stuff in this game, and it's not about whether Sweet Baby's work is actually in here or not, because their influence clearly is. I don't care if Kim Belair, the CEO, put pen to paper and her script is in this pathetic game. It doesn't matter, because you share the exact same ideology, and your focus is on just pushing this on to children, onto anyone who's maybe a bit gullible and believes in your idea of the world, and we're going to change things. Everyone's going to think like us, and we're going to kick gamers out, and everyone who plays games is going to be on the same wavelength. We're going to change the world. That's the sort of stuff that you talk about. These ridiculous conferences. What is going on with the world? What is all of this? But I'll wrap it up on a positive note, because the good thing is you've been exposed. You're proven liars. You tried to sneak in, pretend, oh no, we took out the Sweet Baby stuff. No, we're innocent. We didn't do anything like that. Come and buy our game. The influence is clearly there. You couldn't even attempt to prove that you took their nonsense out. You hire this consultant, you take their work on, and then when you're challenged, okay, prove that you took whatever they contributed out of this game, out of Flintlock, and then you disappeared, you went totally quiet. You may not have nuked your Steam forums, at least not yet. You took a different approach. It failed absolutely miserably. You're getting exposed. All devs like you are, and we're not going to buy it. This is going to be another flop. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.